What's up? So I'm going to be reading a passage from Anthony Williams' Cleanse to Heal. And this is really what I'm going to be using for my Alley HT series, even though I've never read the book, but I just have a feeling deep down inside it's pretty legit. Hopefully you can hear everything because there's neighbors and loud stuff going on. But, hello? Yeah, I think we're good. I hope. Alright, so I'm going to be reading it. Mercury. Well, it says hidden exposures. So, should I read before that? Okay, I'll read it before that. Hidden exposures. It's one thing to talk about toxic troublemakers. It's another to understand how they work inside our bodies and how bad they really are. Our natural human instinct is to believe only what we can see and ignore what we don't see, resorting to denial as we look toward the noise and stay focused on distractions. Toxic substances and pathogens can mean nothing to someone if they don't see them in front of their eyes. Rarely do we witness a direct exposure in its effects. For example, someone being sprayed by pesticides and instantly falling ill. By far the more common example is when small accumulations of pesticides that no one ever saw build up inside of someone's liver, brain, and even breast tissue and reproductive tissue over time, setting the stage for symptoms to occur many years later. Welcome to 2020. None of this is our fault. Industries keep us in the dark and even keep themselves in the dark. If they knew this was happening, that people were getting sick from exposures, they would likely stay in denial that it was even occurring. Our choice, then, is to see it for ourselves. It's the only way to protect ourselves and our families. In the coming pages, we look at some of the most common, surprising, invisible, or near invisible, troublemaker exposures and what they do to us if we aren't aware. Dun dun dun. Mercury. So many of us hear Mercury as an empty word, believing it has nothing to do with our lives on any level. Truth is, there are endless ways to get mercury exposure, and it has a real effect on our lives. Even if you weren't exposed to mercury recently, it doesn't mean you weren't exposed at one point in your life. Almost without a doubt, you were exposed at conception. We all were. Our ancestors were inundated with mercury toxicity, and they've passed that mercury along from generation to generation through contaminated sperm and egg. Who freaking knew? Mercury has been in our world for thousands of years, and not naturally. Sure, it's a natural element. We've mined it from the earth through and brought this toxic substance up into our lives throughout the ages. It's still in industrial use today. Perhaps you've heard that it's used in certain types of light bulbs. At one time of your life, you might have broken one of these bulbs and inhaled the microscopic vapor particles of mercury. You might have had a pharmaceutical of some kind that have contained traces of mercury. Our water supply has mercury in it, both the ocean and freshwater sources. Restaurant food prepared with tap water that's not filtered in some cities can contain mercury. You may be from a generation that still has mercury fillings. Maybe you or your family members have worked in factories over the years that exposed you to mercury. The car industry, for example, uses mercury in many different auto parts. Today's technology still uses mercury in its manufacture, and mercury is still used in many batteries. We often think of mercury as insides these products. not realizing that manufacturing process can actually leave residue on outside of batteries, certain light bulbs, and the like. Residue can contain minute levels of mercury. Residue that can contain minute levels of mercury. If you think it's possible that you've gotten exposed from any of the above sources, well, we're all still exposed. Oh, that you've gotten... We're all still exposed because it falls out of the sky. It's not because the universe drops mercury pellets on us. It's not the god Mercury shedding tears from above. Mercury doesn't exist only in the shiny silver global form we may picture sliding it out of a broken thermometer of the past. It can also exist in minute, particle, or particulate form. The mercury we breathe in comes from vaporized solutions being emitted by airplanes and jets that eventually reach us through the air. Mercury is not tolerant or kind when it resides inside of us. It weakens our immune system, causes emotional struggles and mental struggles, and feeds viruses aggressively, allowing them to prosper, become more toxic, and create more viral toxins in the body. This can lead to a myriad of neurological problems and diagnosis, including neurological Lyme disease, MS, fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism, to only name a few. When mercury feeds a pathogen such as Epstein virus, which I've had the pleasure of experiencing that virus, it leads to virus releasing a heavy metal-based neurotoxin that is a poison even stronger than the poison it consumed. Mercury-based neurotoxins are highly toxic to nerves throughout the body. They can create symptoms such as fatigue, tingles, numbness, tics, spasms, anxiety, depression, emotional disturbances, migraines, headaches, ringing in the ears, weakness in the limbs, and difficulty sleeping. You don't need a lot of mercury saturation to experience a health problem. It could be the most minute exposure from the most obscure area of your life that wreaks havoc later. That's why we can't afford to think of mercury as distant. Only with vigilance can we avoid and shield our families from new exposures whenever possible, while actively working to remove what's already in us. And that is mercury. The next one, I'm about to end the live and come back on live. The next one is air fresheners, scented candles, conventional laundry detergent, fabric softener, perfume, cologne, and aftershave. Oh my God, I almost don't want to read this, but this is my journey, and I want to spread awareness so that people can be happy and healthy. Mercury.